So this is going to be the second video. This time we're actually going to do some hill country. We're at one of my favorite spots to hunt. I actually pulled 3 deer off of this property last year. So we're going to scout it more, see what else we can find. It's different than the swamp, but I think hill country is easier than swamp. So let's see what we can find today. First thing I want to say is, when I planned this scouting trip, my goal was to walk everything north of the road. And the next time I scout this is to scout everything south of the road. Last year I focused a lot of my time in this area, and this is where I was seeing the bucks during the rut. And I've seen a lot of does. I actually shot 2 doe out of here, and I shot a doe over here also. Let me show you what it looks like in a topo map. There you go. So when I got in here, my goal was to follow this creek to whatever I could find, and then circle back up and check the transitions and check all these little nubs, and then on the way back circle back to the road and walk out. So let me show you what I found today. So not far into it, we came across this spot right under a pine. There's 3 beds underneath it, definitely doe bedding. Now if you circle there and green up, this would be really thick, so it definitely makes a good spot. Now if you look here, it's a huge trail. We're going to follow that trail, see where it takes us. Came across this perfect trail, and it crosses the creek. And there's another one about 30 to 40 yards that way. Found another pretty good creek crossing. And if you look, let's see it go up the hill. They got to be headed that way, because about 400 yards that way is the field where they usually sit in. So I'm going to follow the trail this way and see where it takes me. So I'm following this creek bottom, and I came across the very first rub of the day. Pretty cool, excited about it. See what else we can find. We're walking up to the edge of the point here. We came across a bed. Definitely hair in it. Let me show you. Then there's one 2 feet from it, right here. See where the hair is. Right here. And then I was confused because I couldn't tell if it was a buck bed or not. Maybe switching from one bed to the other with the wind. But then I did a small circle, and I came across another bed right there. And there's actually another wood right there. So that's 4 beds. So this is definitely doe bedding. Now the next thing I'm going to look for is some type of trail where a buck is scent checking during the rut, which I got a feeling it's going to run parallel somewhere with the side of the hill. So while I'm walking, trying to find the trail for the buck, for the rut, I want to explain, I think it's pretty cool how does bed. Like, they'll face different directions, and they'll work as a team to kind of cover all areas, so they can see everything. Like a buck, he'll usually just face one way and see a whole group of area, but when a doe does it, it's pretty cool. They actually work as a team, and I think that's a pretty cool thing that they do to survive. So we followed the creek bottom down. We're about 70 yards from where them doe are. Came across a nice rub. Found another one on the same trail. So I got a feeling I know exactly which way he's running. So I decided to take this tree here. Reason being, behind the camera about 50 yards is another rub. And he's actually coming right up this trail, and he's crossing the creek right here. And there's 2 more rubs going up the creek. So if the wind's blowing this way, which the doe are probably 100 yards up the hill, right here will be the perfect spot to get them. I'll get them coming right across here. Alright guys, let me show you what I found today. So I parked here at the end of the road, and I started coming in here, and I followed the trail right to the creek bottom, and right away I found a doe bedding. The red's going to be does where they're bedding. The blue is real heavy crossings where I found on the road going from the woods all the way down to the agriculture, so they're coming north to south. The orangish yellow, them are going to be the buck rubs I found. In this yellow up here is going to be the tree stand, or the tree spot I plan to hunt out of. So this is all of it from a satellite image. Let me switch it over to a topo map. So as you can see, what I did is I followed the creek right down, imported it all into the GPS, then I imported them in CalTopo. Now, I knew once I got to this point there was going to be doe bedding. It just got so thick in there, and then right at the point, once I got to it, I noticed there was 4 beds. So right on the point here, there was bedding all in there. Then I knew right away there has to be a buck scent trail in that sometime for the rut. So what I ended up doing is I dropped down to the creek, and I followed the creek, and I actually found the first rub. Then I went across the creek, and there was another rub. And as I followed the creek down more, there was also another rub. So you got 1, 2, 3, if you could see them, kind of formulates a line. Now I followed these tracks from the rubs, and it came down right to the edge of the ravine, the creek, and walked right down the edge of this contour line. Now another thing I noticed while I was searching this, let me scroll up. This deer was coming off of the private up here. He was coming down. The camera doesn't show it justice, but I walked this. From this 1800 contour line is super steep. So anything that crosses down can only cross here from this part of the public, because of this steep line. Unless they came this way, but I don't see them going up the hill. They're going to take the easiest route. But I found a massive trail for this buck that comes down, and it actually follows right down perfectly. Now the cool thing is I found a perfect funnel. This ravine, this creek, nothing can cross it. It's so steep coming up this that anything that comes off of this public land or private down to the public here is forced to walk into here. And inside there was tons of shrub trees, all shattered up with rubs. So my plan is, let me go back to aerial map and I'll show you. You can see it better, the buck's trail, how it comes right off the private, makes his rubs. But my plan is to hop right out of the road here, park my vehicle, and walk a straight line, cross the creek, and once I cross the creek, there's a perfect tree all set up, ready for me to go. Pretty cool setup. I like this one a lot. I think it's definitely promising for a rut spot. So now I'm excited for 2018.